Hello viewer, welcome to Elimu TV, the only TV station where you watch and learn. Today we have History and Government Form 4, Lesson 1, and the chapter that we are going to deal with is the World Wars. So the subtopic being the First World War, that is in 1914 and ended in 1918. The World War, this is the history of the world during the 20th century, was shaped by wars which were experienced on the scale that was unknown before. And the first of these, the First World War, starting in 1914, it involved the continents and almost every country in the world, either directly or indirectly. So the armies that were deployed by the nations that were fighting, they were in the war front to ensure that they fight their enemies. Okay, dealing with the First World War. The World War were the wars that involved almost the whole world. It involved the soldiers fighting and the civilians provided with support. It was caused by the worsening international relations among these European nations. The European nations, they are the ones who engaged in war, and they had the soldiers, the militaries that were in the war front. These are the ones who are fighting their enemies. So the war used machines such as the automatic rifles. They also used the machine gun, a large battleship, the submarines, the tanks, an aeroplane, the poisonous gas, and finally the atomic bombs. We are going to see these machines in action. As we have said, that the First War started in Europe before it spread to other colonies of the European nations. These countries that were involved, you can see them, the German being the main one, the Austria-Hungary, the Italy formed one side, and fighting against Russia, France, British, Spain, and other countries in Europe. It started from Europe, and therefore it is spread to other countries. And it is started. The cause of this war was the propaganda was increasingly used as a weapon, and each nation used it to convince its citizens as well as those from the neutral nations that it was fighting for a good cause. The propaganda was also used to demoralize the enemy's forces and the civilians by spreading some false rumors about the war. So we realized that this war, at the end of 1918, almost all the countries in Europe, they were fighting against each other. Having a list of the machines or rather the weapons that were used, let us see this list that explore many of the weapons that were used to produce the millions of casualties in 4 short years. For example, from 1918, we have these weapons that were used. We had the Caudron, G4, the Banquet, BRM5. We had the Yeltsin 5, and many others. These were in 1915. In 1916, because of the advancement of technology, we can see these machines that were used, such as the Sopwith. That is the machine that was dangerous to fight the enemies, and this was used in France. We have others like IG, we have the Yeltsin. These were found in France mostly, and the machines, they could produce millions of casualties in this period of time. In 1917, there was an invention of other machineries that could increase even more the number of the casualties. We have the Banquet. It is another machine that was used by the France. We have the Alco, DH4, others such as the Caproni, Gotha, and many others. You see them, they were very dangerous. Once they struck, or rather they went to war, they could produce or cause millions of casualties. In 1918, towards the end of the war, we have advancement of even more dangerous weapons, or rather dangerous machines. These machines, you can see them, and they also caused a million and millions of casualties in that period of time. Other machines that you can see them in actions, you see the machines that they were using in the war. They were very dangerous, and these soldiers, they were well trained, they had sophisticated weapons, and most of them, they could dig some trenches where they could target their enemies. These machines that they use, they could target an enemy from far, and they could even kill millions of them. You can see the air. This was used to bomb in a place where the enemies or the war intensifies. You see the atomic bomb. We are going to discuss the atomic bomb, and this one caused millions and millions of casualties in the war. Now, it's good we explore the causes of this war, the causes of the World War I. The causes of World War I are the possibilities. The question is, what was the possibility? Possibly the single most important causes. Number one was the military. The military, countries, they organize themselves in a very strong military. And between the period of 1901, you see the nation, they could rise against one another. We have the assassination of the Archduke I in 28 July 1914. You can see the war intensify, and this was the immediate cause. So these causes of the war, they can be summarized into main, just the word main, and this is the militarism, the alliances, the imperialism and nationalism. On militarism, there was the defense expenditures as the percentage of this war going on. We can see the countries, they could rise against one another because they have sophisticated weapons. So the nations that were stronger, they had a military that was very, very, very strong. And you can see these machines, the weapons. In 1899, you can see the machines that were used. They could even use the naval powers, that is the British, they could dominate in this war. The machines that they were using, the militaries was well equipped and trained, and therefore they could fight. Number two was the alliances. Between the period of 1870 and 1914, the countries, they came together to form alliances. We are going to see these alliances such as the Triple Alliance. The Triple Alliance entails the Austria-Hungary, Italy, and Germany. The Triple Entente, France, the British, and Russia. These countries, they were much, much stronger because they came together against one another. And they were joined by other countries so that they can fight. So in the Franco-Prussian War, this occurred in 1970. And this saw the France losing two main countries, or rather, that is Lorraine and Alsace. The other causes of the war was imperialism. The imperialism came when these countries tried to manipulate, or rather to get more countries so that they can become more economically stable. And in the militarism, the Russians, the Japanese war also was another war that actually strengthened the power of the Germans and the France. Other causes of the war, apart from immediate causes of the war, we have other causes. These are the Franco-Prussian War. It's one of the causes of the war. And in the Franco-Prussian War, this was the war between the France and the German. And the France lost two places that had a lucrative trade or other businesses. And this is the Alsace and Lorraine. The arms race, the countries they were in a race to compete one another in terms of producing the dangerous weapons. So this was the cause that made the war to start. Another was the first and the second Moroccan crisis. You can see we are going to discuss this one in detail. Another one was the nationalism in the Balkan. We're going to discuss them in detail after this. Militarism was another one, because the countries, they wanted to dominate in the militaries. They could deploy more militaries that were trained with the sophisticated weapons to fight their enemies. So one of these main or immediate cause of the war was the Sarajevo assassination. And the Sarajevo assassination, this was the direct and immediate cause of the World War I, and it was the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand at Sarajevo on the 28th June 1914 by a person known as the Gavrilo Princip. You can have a look at this. And on 28th June 1914, the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, that was the nephew of the Emperor Franz Joseph, he was the heir to the throne of the Austria-Hungary. He was assassinated in a place that was known as the Sarajevo. Sarajevo is in Bosnia. So the assassin, the person who assassinated this Archduke Franz Ferdinand, was known as the Gavrilo Princip. And this was a member of a Serbian terrorism organization that was known as the Black Hand. So this one, he targeted this man, and therefore, in 1911, the organization was founded in this time. Another one was the Systems of Alliance. The Systems of Alliance came before 1914. That is, in Europe's main power was divided into two armed camps by a series of alliances. These alliances were Triple Alliance, and this was also known as the Central Power. It was formed in 1882. The number two alliance that came was the Triple Entente. The Triple Entente it was also known as the Alliance, and it was formed in 1907. The Triple Alliance, or rather the Central Power, it entails this was the power or the side that was defeated. It was the defeated side in the First World War, and the members of the Central Power, or rather the Triple Alliance, were Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. As the name suggests, triple. Triple means three. So these were the three main powerful countries that they formed an alliance. They called themselves Triple Alliance, or rather the Central Power, because of the place where they were located in Europe. So they joined hands to fight against the Triple Entente. This was another organization. It was also called the Allies. And the Allies, it comprises of the Britain, Russia, and France. It was the winning side in the World War I. You're going to see the reason why. This was the Britain, Russia, the France. They emerged as the winners of this war. So they called themselves Triple Entente. This was the French term which all means alliance, or rather the friendship of the three countries, the Great Britain, Russia, and France. They were very strong in this war. Summarizing this Triple Entente, or rather the alliances, the Triple Entente, the Triple Alliance, and the Balkan. You can see the blue color. The blue color was the Triple Alliance, and the red in color, these are the Triple Entente. And this is the time they were formed. You can see the years they were formed. And there was another one that was known as the Balkans. The Balkans entails the Bulgaria and the Serbia. They were aided by these two, the Balkans. So the war was between the Triple Entente and the Alliance, together with their helpers, or rather the other countries that joined them. The World War I Alliance System can also be summarized as this. The Triple Alliance was also known as the Central Power, we said, formed in 1984. Or it was the Triple Entente in 1907, comprising of the German, the Austria-Hungary, the Italy, which later joined the Triple Entente in 1915. The France comprised the Triple Entente. You had the France, the Russian Empire, and the British Empire. These were the two alliance systems that was in this war, World War I. These causes of the World War I, as you saw in the video, can be summarized into an acronym, acrostically representation, the MANIA. MANIA M standing for militarism. And on militarism, this was the policy of building up strong military forces to prepare for the war. Militarism, M. A, the MANIA, is the alliances. This was the agreement between the nations to aid and protect one another. They became so much stronger. N, in the MANIA, is nationalism. Nationalism, this is the pride in, or rather the devotions to one's country. The countries, they came together, and therefore they were much, much stronger because of the spirit of nationalism. There was that pride that the Europeans are more superior than the others. We have I, the imperialism, stands for imperialism. When one country takes over another country economically and politically, they could come together because they were much, much stronger because of becoming more economically and politically stronger. Lastly is A, representing assassination. Assassination was the murder, or rather the killing of the Austrian Archduke Franz Ferdinand by the Little Prince. He was an assassin. And we have said this was one of the terrorists. And after the assassination of this Archduke, who was the heir, the war started. The war started in Europe. It was actually the immediate cause of the war. Having discussed the World War I and the causes of the World War I, we want to finalize the lesson by giving you a simple question, an assignment that you will go and try at home, and therefore in the next lesson we shall discuss them in detail before we start the lesson. So attempt this question. Number 1, you explain 5 causes of the World War I. This is 5 marks. You tell us these causes. Number 2, you name 2 alliances that were formed in this war. That is 2 marks. In the next lesson, we shall discuss them. So thank you for staying tuned to Elimu TV. This is where you watch and learn. You can follow us, our tutor. You can follow the lesson and you get learn. So I have been your teacher, Mr. John Gatuma. Thank you and have a nice time.